The art world is not shaped by noise. It is shaped by power, by the artists who influence what museums collect, how collectors invest, and how this era will be remembered. In this video, we reveal 13 contemporary artists who truly matter in 2026. Not hype, not trends, but real influence. Before we begin, kindly like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future deep dives into the art world. Now, let's begin. Wael Shawky. Wael Shawky is an artist who refuses to treat history as something clean, fixed, or neutral. Born in Egypt in 1971, he became known for films and installations that retell major historical events from unfamiliar angles. Instead of repeating official versions, he focuses on a quieter but dangerous question: who gets to speak and who is erased from the story? One of his most important projects revisits the Crusades, not through European textbooks, but through Arabic historical sources. He stages these accounts using handmade puppets, detailed miniature sets, and slow ceremonial movement. Everything feels distant, controlled, almost beautiful. And that is what makes it disturbing. You are not just watching the past, you are watching history perform itself. Shawky's work rarely raises its voice, but its ideas are sharp. Power, belief, empire, memory, propaganda, the way stories are polished to excuse domination and violence. He does not lecture, he allows the structure of the story to expose itself. By 2026, his influence stretches far beyond gallery walls. Major museums collect his films. International exhibitions center his work. Universities teach it. Curators depend on it to question how global history is framed. Shawky treats contemporary art like archaeology. He digs, he rearranges, he uncovers what was buried on purpose. His work does not offer comfort, it offers precision, a reminder that truth is often assembled, and that the past is never settled. It is rewritten again and again by those who control the narrative. Sherald. Sherald paints people the way history rarely allowed them to be seen: calm, steady, and undistorted. Born in the United States in 1973, she became widely known after painting Michelle Obama's official portrait, but her real impact reaches far beyond one image. Sherald is best known for portraying Black subjects with soft gray skin tones. It is a deliberate decision. By stepping away from natural color, she shifts attention from race as a label to presence as a fact. What matters first is not category, but humanity. Her figures stand quietly. They face the viewer, they do not perform or explain themselves, they simply exist. The backgrounds are spare and controlled, the clothing is bold but measured, the expressions are gentle, thoughtful, sometimes distant. Nothing in her work is loud, nothing rushes. She gives ordinary people the visual dignity once reserved for nobles, generals, and political power in classical portrait painting. By 2026, her work sits firmly in major museums and cultural collections, not because it follows trends, but because it reset the rules of contemporary portraiture. She does not paint spectacle. She paints everyday life: stillness, self-possession, human complexity without narration. In a world where Black identity is often framed through noise or stereotype, Sherald offers something rare: quiet authority. Her paintings do not argue, they remain. And by remaining, they demand memory. Not as symbols, not as statements, but as people, fully present in their own time and their own skin. Kerry James Marshall. Kerry James Marshall is not only a painter, he is an architect of presence. Born in the United States in 1955, he grew up in a time when Black life was largely missing from museum walls and art history books. Instead of waiting to be included, he chose to build what was absent. He painted large figures with deep Black skin, placed inside ordinary scenes. People standing in parks, sitting in living rooms, falling in love, going to work, dreaming quietly. Marshall gives these everyday moments the scale once reserved for emperors, saints, and legends. His canvases are wide, dense, and carefully organized, layered with symbols, buildings, text, and echoes of classical painting. But the idea behind them is direct. Being seen matters. For years, he studied how European painting was constructed: light, balance, storytelling, composition, and then used those same tools to place Black figures at the center, not at the edges. By 2026, his impact is permanent. Museums design exhibitions around his work. Young painters learn from his methods. Collectors treat his paintings as cultural landmarks, not simple objects. Yet his true achievement is not financial. It is historical. He changed what painting is allowed to contain. He showed that representation is not decoration, it is foundation. It shapes memory, it shapes identity, it shapes possibility. Kerry James Marshall does not paint to join history, he paints to correct it, slowly, carefully, and in a way that cannot be reversed. Hayv Kahraman. Hayv Kahraman paints the human body as a quiet place where history chooses to stay. She was born in Iraq and later moved to the United States, carrying memories shaped by war, migration, and cultural distance. These experiences do not appear in her work as loud political signs. They appear softly, in posture, in skin, in small gestures, and in long moments of silence. Her paintings often show women with stretched limbs, steady faces, and controlled movements. They look calm, even delicate, yet something inside them is always holding tension, a feeling that never fully settles. She draws from ancient Mesopotamian reliefs, Persian miniature painting, and European classical art, weaving them into a modern visual language that feels both old and unfinished at the same time. Nothing in her work is random. Every hand, every curve of the back, every tilt of the head is carefully chosen. The body becomes a kind of document, a surface where memory, loss, fear, and endurance quietly gather. By 2026, her work sits in major museum collections and international exhibitions, not because it follows trends, but because it speaks clearly about living between worlds, between cultures, between past and present, between safety and uncertainty. Her paintings do not shout. They wait. They do not describe pain. They store it. In Hayv Kahraman's work, the human figure is not decoration. It is proof of what was carried, of what survived, and of what still remains, even after everything else has changed. Hadieh Shafie. Hadieh Shafie transforms written language into physical form, turning repetition into something solid, dense, and lasting. Born in Iran and later based in the United States, she is known for intricate works made from rolled paper, layered surfaces, and carefully repeated handwritten text. At first glance, her pieces appear calm, ordered, even decorative, but their quiet appearance hides an intense process built from thousands of repeated marks and words. She writes the same phrases over and over, cuts the pages, rolls them tightly, presses them together, stacks them into compact structures. What begins as readable language slowly loses its clarity and becomes something closer to architecture than writing. You stop reading. You start sensing. The words no longer speak through meaning, but through weight, pressure, and density. Her work reflects how memory behaves inside the mind, how routines repeat, how thoughts circle pike, how identity is shaped less by dramatic moments and more by what is done again and again, quietly, over time. Standing before her pieces feels like facing a controlled storm, built from patience, discipline, and restraint. Nothing is random. Every line is deliberate. Every layer holds tension. By 2026, her presence continues to expand across museums and major collections, recognized for achieving something rare: emotional intensity formed through extreme order. She does not narrate stories. She compresses them. She folds them inward. She seals them inside structure. In a world trained to forget quickly, Hadieh Shafie builds objects that resist erasure. They remain. They gather. They endure. And they remind us that memory is not delicate. It is engineered. Solange Pessoa. Solange Pessoa creates meaning from materials most people would step over without noticing. Born in Brazil, she works with elements that feel closer to the forest floor than to a traditional studio. Wax, soil, branches, rope, animal hair, clay, ash, bronze. Materials that bend, crack, stain, rot, and quietly record the passage of time. Her sculptures do not aim for polish or symmetry. They droop. They lean. They darken. They carry the marks of aging. That vulnerability is intentional. Pessoa is drawn to how bodies, land, and memory transform under pressure. how nothing remains untouched, how every surface absorbs weather, handling, and history. Entering one of her exhibitions often feels like crossing into a space suspended between ceremony and ruin. Objects hang like remnants from forgotten rituals. Heavy forms sit on the floor like evidence of something that existed long ago. The air feels denser, sound becomes distant, movement slows. By 2026, her work is firmly recognized by museums and international exhibitions because it offers something increasingly rare in contemporary art: physical reality, not images, not projection, but substance. Her work does not explain itself through theory or long text. It communicates through mass, through surface, through stillness. Solange Pessoa reminds us that long before concepts or technology, humans learned by touching what surrounded them. Her art returns to that instinct, to sense first, to understand later, and to accept that some truths can only be carried by material, not language. Luana Vitra. Luana Vitra creates art from materials that already contain their own history. Born in Brazil, she is known for sculptures and installations made from stone, soil, minerals, metal, and natural pigments. She does not treat these elements as simple tools. She treats them as records of time, substances shaped long before human hands ever touched them. At first, her works appear quiet: solid forms, muted colors, objects placed carefully in space, heavy and still. But nothing in her work is empty. Each material carries its own journey: iron drawn from deep ground, pigments formed slowly through chemical change, stones shaped by pressure, heat, and centuries of movement beneath the surface of the earth. Vitra brings these fragments together to speak about land, labor, extraction, and the invisible bond between people and the soil beneath them. She does not try to beautify space. She gives it weight. Standing before her work feels less like observing art and more like entering a slow physical dialogue with the planet itself. You become aware of gravity, of density, of how small the human body is compared to the age of the materials around it. By 2026, her presence continues to grow as museums and curators search for artists who can address climate, resources, and history without reducing them to slogans or decoration. Her work offers something rarer than commentary. It offers presence. It asks you to sense mass, to notice texture, to understand how deeply human life is tied to the ground it depends on. In a culture built on speed and endless images, Luana Vitra redirects attention downward, back to soil, back to substance, back to the slow forces that existed before us and will remain long after we are gone. Manyaku Mashilo. Manyaku Mashilo has developed a visual language that feels gentle at first glance, yet deeply rooted in memory, belief, and lived experience. She was born in South Africa's Limpopo province, a region shaped by open land, traditional rhythms, and spiritual storytelling. These surroundings did not simply influence her life, they settled into the structure of her imagination and continue to guide how her images unfold. Mashilo paints and draws figures that seem to exist between states of being. They are often alone, seated, kneeling, or resting quietly, surrounded by animals, plants, and unfamiliar symbols. These elements do not behave like decoration. They feel like fragments of inherited memory, reminders of ancestry and unseen connections. Her technique is restrained and precise. Lines remain thin, colors stay soft. Large areas of the surface are left open, allowing silence to become part of the composition. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing appears accidental. The strength of her work does not come from scale or drama. It comes from mood, from the sense that the image is only one moment inside a longer story, that something meaningful happened before it appeared, and something unresolved will follow after it fades. By 2026, her work is increasingly present in major exhibitions and institutional collections, valued for its ability to express African experience without reducing it to symbols or spectacle. She does not translate her world for the viewer. She allows it to exist. Mashilo's paintings feel like private conversations between past and present, spoken softly through color and form. They remind us that identity does not always announce itself. Sometimes it rests quietly, sometimes it travels silently, and sometimes it remains, held gently inside an image, breathing on its own. Shuang Li. Shuang Li creates art in the quiet space where technology and human feeling begin to blur. Born in China and working in Europe, she is known for video, digital installations, and sound environments that explore how modern life is shaped by screens, machines, distance, and invisible systems. Her work is not built for noise or spectacle, it is built for attention. She often places viewers inside dark rooms filled with slow-moving images, artificial light, and carefully designed sound. It feels less like watching an artwork and more like stepping into a controlled digital atmosphere. Calm, smooth, and slightly unreal. Nothing is rushed, nothing is chaotic, yet something feels uneasy. Shuang Li studies how closeness changes when it passes through devices, how emotions become signals, how people can be surrounded by connection and still feel separate from one another. Her figures appear almost engineered. Faces remain neutral. Voices sound measured. Movements are precise and restrained. They seem human, but also distant, as if part of them belongs to a machine. By 2026, her work is increasingly present in museums and international exhibitions, searching for artists who can describe life shaped by algorithms and constant digital presence. Collectors see her projects not as decoration, but as records of how modern psychology is being quietly redesigned. She captures a feeling many recognize but struggle to explain: being everywhere, yet not fully anywhere. In Shuang Li's world, technology is not something ahead of us. It is the emotional space we already inhabit. And her work reflects that reality with clarity, restraint, and quiet precision. Mulgil Kim. Mulgil Kim belongs to a generation of painters quietly turning away from spectacle. Her work moves in the opposite direction of speed, shock, and easy meaning, choosing instead to explore stillness, hesitation, and the fragile space inside the human mind. Born in South Korea, she works mainly with the human figure, but her subjects never perform for the viewer. They are caught in pauses, between actions, between thoughts, existing in moments that feel unfinished, as if time briefly forgot to move forward. At first, her paintings seem almost empty. A person near a wall, a body resting on a chair, a face turned slightly away. Nothing dramatic appears to be happening, but the longer you remain, the heavier the atmosphere becomes. Kim does not dramatize loneliness. She does not explain it. She simply places a figure inside silence and allows that silence to expand. Her surfaces are gentle and restrained. Colors stay low, shapes soften. The edges of the body fade into the background, as if the person is slowly blending into the room around them. By 2026, her work is drawing attention from galleries and collectors searching for images that do not shout for relevance. Her paintings offer something increasingly rare: space to breathe. They do not instruct, they do not persuade, they wait. In a world saturated with movement, noise, and constant information, Mulgil Kim removes more than she adds. She lowers the volume, she slows the rhythm. And inside that stillness, something quietly truthful remains. Not an idea, not a statement, just the delicate presence of being human, suspended gently in paint. Weyant. Weyant has become one of the most discussed painters of her generation, not by chasing attention, but by returning to a kind of painting many believed was finished. She was born in Canada in 1995 and trained in the United States, where she committed herself to traditional methods that younger artists often avoid. Oil paint, careful drawing, controlled color, balanced composition. Her technique feels borrowed from another century, but the emotional atmosphere inside her work belongs entirely to the present. Weyant paints women in small, quiet situations, sitting on beds, standing in empty rooms, resting in silence. Nothing dramatic seems to be happening, yet something always feels unsettled. The bodies are gentle, the faces are calm, the spaces are tidy, but beneath that calm is pressure. A shoulder slightly tense, eyes that avoid meeting yours. A room that feels too neat, too still, too quiet. Her paintings do not use chaos or bright color to create impact. She uses restraint. She allows silence to build weight. Stillness becomes unease. Simplicity becomes tension. By 2026, her position in the art world is firmly established. leading galleries represent her. Major collectors pursue her work. Museums include her paintings in serious contemporary collections. Yet her real influence goes deeper than market success. She restored strength to subtlety. In an art world filled with noise, speed, and spectacle, Anna Weyant slows everything down. She asks the viewer to stay longer than is comfortable, to notice what is not being said, and to feel how heavy quiet can become. Jadé Fadojutimi. Jadé Fadojutimi represents a quiet form of authority in contemporary painting. Her work does not demand attention through shock or scale. It draws you in through emotion, complexity, and control. Born in London in 1993, she creates paintings that exist between abstraction and inner memory. At first, her canvases appear chaotic. Twisting lines, drifting shapes, soft collisions of pink, blue, green, and dark shadows. But the longer you stay, the more the disorder begins to feel deliberate, like a visual map of thought. Fadojutimi does not describe places or objects. She paints psychological space, the weight of feeling, the pressure of awareness, the instability of emotion when the mind refuses to stay still. Her studio process is slow and demanding. She layers paint repeatedly, drawing into it, scraping it away, covering it again, then opening parts of the surface back up. Each canvas becomes a timeline of choices, moments added, removed, corrected, and carried forward. By 2026, her influence extends far beyond critical praise. Museums actively collect her work, leading galleries support her career, collectors pursue her large-scale paintings. Yet, her art remains resistant to simple interpretation. It does not explain. It lingers. In a culture trained to scroll past images in seconds, her paintings insist on time. They ask the viewer to pause, to sit with confusion, to feel before trying to understand. That is where her power lives, not in spectacle, not in volume, but in emotional density, slowly constructed and quietly positioned at the center of contemporary painting. Ibrahim Mahama. Ibrahim Mahama stands out in contemporary art because he does not begin with beauty. He begins with reality. Born in Ghana in 1987, he rejected the idea that art must start on clean canvas. Instead, he chose materials already filled with human history, old jute sacks. These are the bags used to move cocoa, charcoal, rice, and cement across West Africa. They travel through ports, markets, trucks, and storage yards. They are dragged across floors, stacked under heat, soaked in rain, repaired, reused, and marked by countless hands. Mahama gathers these sacks in huge numbers and stitches them together into massive sheets of fabric. He then stretches them across buildings, museums, railway stations, and public spaces, transforming architecture into a surface shaped by labor. What you see is not decoration, it is movement. It is trade. It is exhaustion. It is survival. Every tear records pressure. Every stain records time. Every stitched repair records a worker who could not afford to throw the bag away. By 2026, Mahama's role reaches far beyond exhibitions. He has established art spaces, learning centers, and production hubs in Ghana, building systems that support young creatives and local communities. International museums collect his work. Major exhibitions continue to invite him. Yet his materials remain ordinary, grounded, and honest. Mahama proves that powerful art does not need distance from society. It can grow from inside it, wrap around it, and carry its weight without asking for permission.